Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So I see, yes, we have heavy West Coast today. California, Washington, we have Dominican Republic, Chicago, Teresa. My God, oh, Portugal, Antonio. All right. How are you? Teresa, I hope you're doing okay. I'm thinking of you. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. Since I was awake, I thought, well, I'll just come on, say hi, but I'll probably fall asleep because I'm in and out of sleep the last few days.
Oh, you do what you need to do and get well soon. Just know that we're thinking about you.
Thank you. And I was kind of curious also to know how many people are going to MIPIM too.
Ah, okay. I don't know if everyone, we do have the chat active. If anyone's going to MIPIM, if you want to just kind of put that in the chat while we're going on, that would be great. But
Awesome.
we're going to get started. We do have a very special guest with us here today, but I do want to introduce our president of FIABCI USA, Evan Bennett. Evan, I'm going to let you kick us off today. Thanks.
Thank you, Carla. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Now, I just think this is fantastic that we're collaborating with other chapters. I think that's so important. It provides opportunities for the members of both chapters to make those connections and hopefully find some opportunities to develop some new business relationships. And, that's what it's all about. But, of course, I want to welcome President of FIAPCI Brazil, so Flavio Amari. So Flavio, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and willing to participate in the webinar and give us your insights on the real estate markets and doing business perhaps with people in Brazil. So thank you. We're just so thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Ivan. My pleasure to be with you and all the people. So as I have Antonio here, I'm going to speak Portuguese. What do you say about that? Would it be okay, Antonio? We speak Portuguese with them?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the invitation, Ivan and Carla. It's a pleasure to participate in this FIABCI First Fridays of the month.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I mean, Brazil has been a longtime partner, of us, not only in the US, but around the world. And, there's so much opportunity, right? So Brazil, known for its natural beauty, its vibrant culture. You have Carnival coming up, but on the 28th, I think.
Yeah.
Affordable living and some really unique places that I think that we can talk about. So Brazil, I'm sure as we have all followed the market, has had some ups and downs over the last decade, right? Flavio, would you agree? And I mean, where do you see things today? Post pandemic, post the downturn in the market even before the pandemic, right? But you're starting to come back out of this, right?
We have a strong market post pandemic, post COVID, especially in the high rise condos close to the large cities of Brazil. People discover this way of communicate, this Zoom platform. It's very interesting for us. So we don't have to be in the São Paulo city to participate and to do business. We can live in the inland. We can live the places where we have airports. So just in São Paulo state, we have 22 airports. So it's very easy to go and come and go to São Paulo, the capital of the state. And we discovered this way of communicate and doing business as we're doing right now. This 5 or 10 years ago, this could never happen. We didn't know about the Zoom platform. I didn't know Zoom. Now everybody understands this, and we do a lots of business meeting, this family business and family meeting with this platform. So this improved the real estate market as in the United States, in Brazil too. As you see in Florida, people looking for the climate and the way of living, different from other parts. It's very cold. Brazil is the same. The post-COVID for high-rise condos is very interesting, strong market. But we're facing some problems in the economics. We have high interest rates. Now we have a 13.25% a year interest rate. It's too high for us. We have high inflation. We have difficult with the politics. So this is impacted the real estate market. But it's an opportunity too, because when we see that, we see the rate the exchange rate, dollar and reais. Reais I forgot the name, but
Currency.
our currency. Yes, correct. So real is our currency, and we have 6 reais for $1. So it's very cheap for the American people, European people to come to Brazil, just to tourism, but not for tourism, but to buy real estate, to invest, to invest in Brazil. So as we have these problems in economics, we have these problems in politics, but we have lots of opportunities in the investment parts. So not for just for the economics, but for the real estate market too.
Right.
In every part of Brazil, the currency is very strong for US dollars to be in Brazil.
Hmm. Well, you just like us, well, Lula's back, right? And
Yeah.
then you just had a new Congress and that came into election and just started on February 1st. So, where the dynamics are a little same for us here in the US. I mean, what kind of changes do you think you'll see out of this administration?
Actually, we had elections last year, but we have elections next year from mayors of the cities. So it was cities elections. We do not have
Hmm.
last year the Congress election. Our Congress started in 2022, and they have another election in 2026. So we have a not new, not old Congress, just in the middle part of the term. So the Congress is okay. The problem is not a Congress, but our difficult to have the predictability of the economics. As you said, the Lula, the president, he thinks that we have to spend money to make the growth, and he spends more than he has the taxes. So he's increasing taxes to spend more. That doesn't work. When you have to increase the tax to spend more, us who do the investments, we had some problems. So the Lula now is not doing the same as he did 20 years ago. He was the president in 2002 until 2010, and he did a good government that time. Now it's not doing the same. There's one thing he's doing good for us. That's a national housing program called
Okay.
Minha Casa Minha Vida, that says in English, my house, my life. 2/3 of the whole units launched in São Paulo City last year was for the low-income people. That's in the program, national program called Minha Casa Minha Vida, my house, my life. Last year we had 100,000 units launched in São Paulo City, 104,000 new units, basically apartments, just in the city of São Paulo. And 2/3 of them, about 65,000 units, was for the low-income people in the national program. So this is one good thing that the Lula is doing good in Brazil market nowadays.
But I also read your unemployment rate is the lowest it's been since 2012. So, I mean, that's obviously positive, particularly in the market when you need people to, that have jobs. It keeps the economy flowing. I mean, I'm sure you're all a little bit happy about that as well, right?
Yeah, actually, we have about 6.2% of unemployment rate. That's
Yeah.
lowest in the last decade. Should be good for us, but actually it's not good. It's interesting how we have this because we have inflation going up, we have interest rate high, as I said before, 13.25% per year.
Right.
That's a large, high interest rate. That's very difficult for us in the real estate market. But we have, as you said, low. We have 6.2, as I said, employment rate. We have growth. Our GDP is getting better. Last 2 years, we have 3% GDP positive. So it's strange to understand the economics, how we are facing this good numbers, unemployment and GDP, but on the other side, high inflation, high interest rate, but we have a good opportunity for us in the real estate market. We have large demand. We need new housing. We have a large number of people who needs to buy houses. So we have about 6 or 7 million people who need new houses in the whole country. So that's lots of opportunities, as you say, in the
Absolutely.
residential area, but
Mhm.
actually too in the commercial properties too. We have a lots of opportunities to invest money buying this already built housing or commercial, but building too. So there's a lot of opportunities to, Carla, to invest money here in Brazil, especially when you compare the exchange rate. As I said before, that's R$ 6 for $1. So
Yeah.
the American people is very rich in Brazil.
Well, I want to talk. I want to really get into that part of it too, because I mean, the reason we're all here today is to talk about how we can do referral business, right? So we have, I'm sure, as you know, a lot of Brazilians that are living in the United States. So there's room for back and forth growth between us for referrals. So we're looking at, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, Wisconsin, and California. Some of these you might not have even been aware of, but this is where the concentration of most Brazilians are living in those particular states. So any restrictions on foreign buyers? So if someone from the US or Portugal or anywhere wanted to come in, what does the government say about us owning any sort of property in Brazil?
It's not a problem, Carla. Sir, when you buy, exception is made when you buy large properties of land in some parts of Brazil. There are some laws that you have to understand specifically the business, but in general ways, there's no restrictions. You can buy houses and condos and areas, and it's a very, as I said before, it's a lot of opportunities for the people who wants to invest money in Brazil, but we have some problems too. But
Right.
I think the funds market, I think it would be better for the Americans to invest here, as you have some real estate funds that you can invest money. I think it's more safe than to understand how it works, the taxes and the bureaucracy. We have some problems that the particularity that we have here in Brazil, that you think you have to understand how it works to start investing money and building or develop for developers to invest here in Brazil. So I think that the first moment, the best place to invest is going to be some real estate funds and a small house or one unit to understand how it works, and always be with a lawyer, with a accountant to understand how it works, the taxes. We just faced last year a tax reform that changes a lot of how it's going to be our taxes in all country, especially in the real estate market. So I think it's better always in all parts of the world, right, Carla? You have to be with a lawyer and accountant to understand how it works and to do the thing the most safe as you can. And FIABCI
Absolutely.
can help with
With the
that
Cusco
always.
cost or something like that, they call it. That's the Brazilian cost when you come in and buy, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so it
that's
seems
true.
like there's a lot of ways to diversify your portfolio in Brazil. You talked a little bit about São Paulo. I mean, numbers as far as sales up in São Paulo at the end of the third quarter last year, 33%. I mean, that's a big demand. I think, from what I read, there's like a high level of rental demand. So for people who are maybe looking to invest, Sao Paulo would be good because that demand for people are there. Elaborate a little bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, Carla, you are prepared. You study Brazilian market to do this talk. I'm just kidding.
It's my
But
job.
yeah, right. Very nice. But actually, we have some, we talk here about São Paulo, but we have Rio de Janeiro. That's a very important market. We have Brazilian market. That's a very strong market. We have this northeast of Brazil, lots of beaches, lots of beautiful places, closer to Europe, closer to America. We have direct flights from Florida to northeast of Brazil almost every day, 3 or 4 cities in the northeast. We have the south part of Brazil. That's a very safe, important part of Brazil. We have Camboriú, as I said before, in the south part of Brazil, but it's a small beach area, but have buildings like Dubai, or 40 or 50 or 60 floors of buildings. So there's a lots of places in Brazil that the market is very strong. When you say about the agro business, some places in Brazil, the economy is based on the agro. And the agro is very important to Brazil too. As I said before, when you compare the China market and the US, the problems between China and US, the Brazilian market, the economy based on agro is very important. So the places who has the agro as the main force of the economy is getting the real estate more stronger every day. So there's a lots of places. As you said, United States, you have 50 states, we have 27 states, but there's a large country with different between one and other part of Brazil. And the poorest in the north, the richest in the south, and São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro is the largest cities here in Brazil. It's strong markets in most of the capitals of Brazil.
Mm-hmm. If we have luxury buyers, I mean, we're looking at places like Florianopolis, Vitoria, Santos, and a better quality of life. I mean, describe that for those. Are those more second home buyers? What are you seeing in those luxury areas?
Yes, there is some second home buyers, but actually, as I said before, when we have this Zoom connection, the internet connection, the people are buying some places about 60 miles around the large capitals like São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro. That's the two most large and important areas in the real estate market in Brazil. That's where the high-rise condos are staying at. As I said, from São Paulo, we have this macro metropolis, as I said. 30 million people lives in this place. It's about 60 miles around the city of São Paulo. 30 million people lives here. So that's a lots of new launches of the high-rise condos, houses, large houses that people can use. Not before was the second home, but now it's not. Now the people are starting moving to the places. And as you said, Florianopolis in the south, we have the Argentinians too. The Argentina is getting stronger. The economy in Argentina is getting better. And the south part of Brazil, it's closest to Argentina. So they came back to Brazil. They were far away from us because the economy out there were difficult for them. But now the last year, they're starting to recovering the economy and they're getting back to Brazil to spend a vacation, to buy new houses, to Brazil and Uruguay too. So the Argentinians coming back to us to invest money in the south, especially in the south part of Brazil. You said Santos. Santos is not the high rise. Santos is not the best place to like I said, the high rise. But Florianopolis is okay, São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, and that's the most important places for the high rise. And I said Camboriú, Balneário Camboriú, it's closer to Florianopolis, about 100 miles or 60 or 100 miles. That's a high floor building there.
Mm-hmm. So the average retiree, right? Not the luxury buyer, someone that is coming there. What would be the average house price? What kind of income would they need to have to live comfortably in Brazil?
Yeah, that's very different from the south part and to the north part. But the average retire, Santos is the place for the average retire. When we see there, the average of the people who live there, they are the retired people move to Santos, average people, not the rich ones. Mm-hmm. But the prices are very different from each part. It's difficult to say to you that's $1,000 for a square meter. Square meter is about 10 square feet just to right. to get to the math. But when you say in the inland part of the São Paulo, we have about 100 to 1,000 or 1,500 square meter from a housing or an apartment building in São Paulo. When you go to the north part, it's cheaper. You can buy with less money. But when you go to the high-rise condos, you can get to $6,000 or $8,000 each square meter. It's difficult to say the average price when you compare a country like this with 8.5 million square meters and 200 million people. So it depends where you are at and the kind of city. We have small towns like 5,000 people, and you have the large, like São Paulo with 12 million people or 13 million people, it's not easy to make the average price of the real estate, as we all know.
Hmm. Well, you talked about interest rates being roughly around 13 and a quarter or so. Obviously financing from the banks is going to be not very favorable right now for foreign investors that are coming in. They're most likely going to be cash buyers. What do they need to open a bank account if they were going to come from another country? Is that difficult? Do they need a visa to do that? Or...
I don't think it's going to be difficult for them to open a bank account nowadays. Not that problem. As a Brazilian, go to United States and open a bank account. We have lots of banks from Brazil that have branches in the United States and vice versa. So it's not a big issue. But I don't think that's going to be a good business deal to finance real estate in Brazil with this interest rate, as you said, and I said 13 and a quarter. And next month, it's going to be 14 and a quarter. And the expectation in April is going to be 15 and a quarter. So we have interest rate increasing.
I want everyone to pay attention to this when your clients are complaining about the United States interest rate right now.
Yeah. It's a problem here for us. And the market is suffering from that because it's difficult to sell one thing, one house, and to go to the bank and to finance with 13 or 14 or 15%. Actually, when you go to the low income people in the national program, Minha Casa Minha Vida, you have subsidies. So you don't pay this rent, this interest rate. You have some interest rate that's smaller than that. It's about 9 or 10%. It's large, it's high, but it's not as 13 or 14. Especially when you look at the 30 years or 25 or 30 years, a long-term financing that's very important for them. The interest rate is getting lower. So you don't complain about US interest rate because here it's
They still will,
very
but
difficult.
I think if we give them a bigger picture, worldwide view, it might get a little bit better for some people. Those that have been in the industry for a long time that have sold, particularly back in the 80s, our interest rates were right up there where you're seeing, and even higher,
Yeah.
18%. So the old school agents are telling people, no, you don't know what you're talking about. This is really a low rate.
Yeah. You
Um,
know something, Carla, that's a very important thing that FIABCI does is this kind of benchmarking and comparing everything that's happened. When we did last year our tax reform, we, FIABCI Brazil, talked to a lots of places in the whole world to get to know how it works, the tax in the real estate tax all over the world. So we can be in the Congress and show to the Congress how Germany works the tax, how US works the tax, so we cannot be so different. It's very difficult for us, but FIABCI really helped us to get this benchmarking and comparing all the things that happens all over the world, especially when you're facing this kind of discussion in the Congress that's going to change something for the whole life. A tax reform changes for 10, 20, 30 years. So it's very important, and FIABCI played a good role here in Brazil, doing this benchmarking and comparing the tax all over the world.
Well, I think it's important to note that we do have some similarity where both the US and Brazil, where from a tax perspective, both residents are based on their worldwide income. So there is no tax treaty between Brazil and the US. So, there will be some differences there. But cost of living, right? So much. It's about half of the United States. And Antonio, I hate to disappoint you, but about, 33% less than Portugal. So, you know, tell us about, like what kind of things, when we're talking about cost of living, if someone was to move there, because of its affordability, what kind of advantages are you seeing? What could we afford to do in Brazil that maybe we're not doing here in our own countries?
When you compare the average people in the US, when they come to Brazil, they are the richest people in Brazil. We have some problems, have some security issues. There are some places in Brazil that we're not safe to walk in the streets. when I just heard yesterday in a conference that Uber in São Paulo, just the city of São Paulo, the Uber is larger than France and Italy together. Just the city of São Paulo has more Uber driving than France and Italy together. That's why uh, I think that the problem is that we're not safe to walk in the street. It depends where, and what time. It's not okay to walk in the street in São Paulo at night, some places. Even during the day, we have some problems walking in the streets. We have some cell phones that people take our cell phones to do some. We have some security issues that we have to face. But
Right.
when you compare that to the cost of our to be here, it's like this. So the average people in the United States, it's a very rich people in Brazil.
I know, as far as entry is concerned, Visa, Brazil basically put in some more visa requirements, right? So back in 2024, if you were coming from the US, you had to, as part of that visa application, you had to prove that you had $2,000 or more in income. So that was one of the things that was put in place. But then I just saw that we're looking at another change coming in April. So April 10th, I think everyone has to have an e-visa in order to gain entry into Brazil. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. But it looks like I had so much more to ask you, but it looks like everyone in the audience has some questions too. So I wanted to hit some of those because we only have a few minutes left. Uh, Joanne was asking if you were going to move from the United States to Brazil, how are your contents arriving? Like, is there any issue with this? How do they safely get into Brazil?
I think it's not going to be an issue that, so we have to take the particular places to move our belongings and to find a good place. Actually, as I said before, I think the most important thing is to be with a lawyer and to be with an accountant to do this changing in your life and with no surprises. I don't think that when you think about the tax, the Brazilian taxes, actually the Brazilian people are moving to Portugal, as Antonio is here, and moving to Uruguay that has some tax incentives for us. So the most important thing is to get a lawyer together, an accountant together. So that's the thing, in my opinion, is the most important thing to make to analyze what is the impact of your change. It's not just the cost of your life and to find a new house, but to see, but you have to see the whole thing.
Right. And then you had talked a little bit about crime and safety. If someone was going to invest, like where would you say would be, I mean, we're not really allowed to talk about this in the United States, but like for people to feel comfortable, I know we talked a little bit about, some of the luxury neighborhoods in the north, or in the south, excuse me, but is there another area that would be safe to visit, safe to invest from a US standpoint, right?
I think so. When you the south part of
That's one of the
Brazil,
questions that's in the chat, by the way.
yeah, but south part of Brazil, you can have some more tranquility to walk in the streets and to go and back and forth. When you go to the large cities, the problem. Rio de Janeiro is a problem. Some places in São Paulo is a problem. But some places in Brazil, like the south part, it's more safe to walk and to live. When you go to the inland, it's too a safe part to live, to be. I live, as I told before, I live about 60 miles from São Paulo, the west part. It's okay to walk in here. It's not a problem. I've never been robbed here in my city. It's safe. The problem is when you are in the large cities, close to the slums, close to the places where we have some drug issues, we have some problems, but mostly in the large cities of Brazil.
Okay. And then in Vera, you had a question about Guyana and maybe some cross-border transaction. Then we're going to wrap it up, but go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. I have a question. I am originally from Guyana. I've been here for 49 years. So my siblings go back to Guyana often. I understand if because I have a US passport, you weren't allowed dual citizenship for Guyana. If I go back from the US and to Guyana to visit and I want to go to Brazil, I understand I pay $100 to, I have to pay $100 to cross the bridge because there is a bridge from Guyana to Brazil. But you're saying as of April 10th, you need an e-visa. Is that if you're going from the US to Brazil, or when I go from Guyana to Brazil as a US citizen, do I need that e-visa?
Actually, I am not aware of that, so I cannot answer this question with properly informations. I don't know. I didn't know that actually in there about this
Oh,
crossing and
Yeah,
the
probably
charges. I'm not aware of that.
that just popped
oh,
up recently, and I didn't see that that was a US thing. It just said entry. There was going to be an e-visa application similar to what the European Union was doing. That it's just an extra form that you have to fill out to go into the country. But I'm going to do one quick last question. It's 12:32. Shirley wants to know any residency by investment visa.
Yes, but I'm too, as I said, Carla, I'm not aware to
Okay.
how much is this investment need to be to get this visa. But actually, I think the best way is to invest. You don't have to be a resident in Brazil. You can be US and invest money in Brazil. So the people are doing the other way. The people in Brazil are going to invest money in US to get the resident in the American passport, the green card. It's not the other way around. So
Right.
the Brazilian people are going to Portugal, are going to Spain, going to Uruguay and to America. But I don't see the other way around. The people from the United States getting this visa to Brazil. I don't see that it's an opportunity. I see that's a good opportunity for investment,
Mhm.
but not that kind of investment, in my opinion.
Right. Well, Flavio, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We know it's a couple hours later in the afternoon for you than it is for us on the East Coast, although we have some West Coast people with us and obviously overseas in Portugal as well. But it's great to see everyone. Thank you for being with us today. And again, make sure you check your newsletter. Evan, anything you want to say about the spring meeting before we wrap up real quick?
Certainly. So the dates have been settled. It's going to be
yeah.
on May 2nd and 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia. So really looking forward to it. So by all means, everyone stay tuned as more information comes out and all of the details about registering and whatnot. Looking forward to have a great turnout. And, just another great event.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Again, Flavio, thank you. Everyone, thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next month.
Thank you,
And
Carla.
see you
Thank
in.
you, Ivan. Thank you all. It was my
Yes.
pleasure.
Obrigado.
Thanks, Flavio.
Bye, guys.
Obrigado. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you all.